Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. It is being reported that David De Gea is about to sign a new 200 grand a week contract. And I can't speak in the words of Mark Goldbridge. Everybody knows how I feel about this. It's nothing against David De Gea. I just feel like with him as a goalkeeper, Man United are not going to be able to move forward and they're not going to be able to build out the way Erik ten Hag wants to build them out. I think keeping De Gea on a new long-term deal is a very Glazeronic move, if I'm being honest with you. I think it's something the Glazers would love to do. David De Gea is very loved throughout the fan base. He's also very disliked throughout the fan base. And I think it's just an easy option for Manchester United. Letting David De Gea go on a free is not something the Glazers want to do. It's something that an ambitious club would do, but not something that the Glazers would want to do. I think with new ownership, we could be seeing something different, but also mixed reports coming out that Erik ten Hag wants a new goalkeeper, but the funds aren't available. Also reports coming out that Erik ten Hag is happy with David De Gea and wants to keep him on a new contract because of the leadership and the mentality he shows in the dressing room. I mean, my personal opinion is I don't really see any leadership on the pitch or any mentality on the pitch. I feel like in his goal line, he often looks very subdued. He doesn't really look like he's the guy that's leading from the back. We don't know what happens behind the scenes, but that is just what I think. I know a lot of people on the channel absolutely love David De Gea. Me and Mark have had endless debates about it, endless conversations, and I'm telling you, he's actually coming round to it. On private messages, Mark, don't let me expose you, being serious now, I'm joking, but there is certain games that David De Gea has had where he just makes these mistakes where all of a sudden everybody wants David De Gea out, and then there's games where he makes world-class saves and all of a sudden everybody's like, why does anybody want De Gea out? This is what you can do. It's about keeping the ball at the back of the net. I've been consistent for a very long time that it's not just about one game for me. It's all the attributes that David De Gea has. In my personal opinion, the way I've watched Erik ten Hag at Ajax, the things that I know about Erik ten Hag and what he wants to do with this team moving forward, I just know it's not part of his vision. I know that Erik ten Hag will want a modern goalkeeper that can play out from the back with his feet. You can see it. He says it's an important attribute to the game. And people will say, well, Erik ten Hag in press conferences says that David De Gea is the complete goalkeeper and that he's very happy with him. Erik ten Hag is not going to come out and slag off a goalkeeper he has to rely on it till the end of the season. Does anybody want to see Jack Butland in goal? Does anyone want to see Tom Heaton in goal? I mean, some people might want to, but even I, who I'm not the biggest fan of David De Gea, still appreciate that he's a very good goalkeeper, just not what Manchester United need moving forward. For a different type of club, he'd be a good goalkeeper. For Man United, a top-level team, he wouldn't. I always say to people, would Klopp swap out Alisson for David De Gea? Would Man City swap out Ederson for David De Gea? Is David De Gea a better shot stopper than Ederson? Absolutely he is. But is he a better all-round keeper than Ederson? No, and there's multiple different factors to being a goalkeeper other than just shot stopping. It is a main factor, I'll give you that. It's a main factor and he is brilliant at it. But there's other things that come into play when you're playing at a top-level team for the way the team has to play. So one of them attributes, I would say, just talked about shot stopping, no arguments, one of the best shot stoppers there is. But I talk about distribution, and it's not a new phenomenon. I've been saying it for months, I've been saying it for years. David De Gea is not very good with the ball at his feet. He got very covered up with Martinez at the back because he's absolutely excellent at taking the ball under high pressure situations. But we've seen as soon as someone different come into the team, you saw the whole incident in Sevilla with Harry Maguire. A lot of people blame Maguire. It was very much De Gea's fault and Maguire's fault. I think both of them deserve stick for that. But everyone's saying just one mistake, Beth. One mistake. Why are you getting hung up on one mistake? It's not one mistake. It's happened multiple times. In the away leg against Barcelona, David De Gea passed it out to a Barcelona player, very thankful that Casemiro got back to block the shot from going in, because it could have been a really bad story from there. The Real Betis game at home, David De Gea constantly just kicking it to Real Betis. If they had more quality in the team, then they would have gone on and scored and it could have been a different story. I'm talking about high pressure situations. We're going to be playing in the Champions League next year in Europe. Do you think if David De Gea makes a miss kick or isn't able to distribute properly, we won't have Vinicius Jr., Kylian Mbappe, other players at top teams hunting us down and playing on the weaknesses? Many top teams in the Premier League, and even teams that aren't top teams in the Premier League, target David De Gea and target him on crosses. They target him when playing out from the back. Hence why at Brighton, at Wembley, Ten Hag literally made David De Gea play long ball, just constantly kicking it to Brighton, giving them the possession, because in Erik ten Hag's mind, well, that's better than conceding a goal, which it is, but he shouldn't have to do that. He shouldn't have to have a goalkeeper where he has to kick it long and constantly give up bouts of possession. With Erik ten Hag's system, he wants players at the back to be able to pass out from the back. That's why Martinez was such an important buy from him. He loves his centre-backs to be able to be good on the ball, and Martinez is one of the best. Varane's good at it, but Martinez is absolutely insane. That's why at first he didn't really like Wan-Bissaka, because he wants players that are very good on the ball. Wan-Bissaka's massively improved, and I give him credit for that. I'm loving Wan-Bissaka at the moment. Dalot, this is why he likes Dalot, good on the ball. Luke Shaw, good on the ball. David De Gea kind of messes that situation up, because when the ball's at his feet, it is kind of like a hot potato. Then we move on to the crosses. Crosses is where we get really hurt with David De Gea. Off corners, off set pieces, every time the opposite team likes to kind of put a lot of players on him because they know that he's not very strong in the air. I see keepers in the Premier League such as David Raya, and some people aren't a fan of David Raya. I think he's a very good goalkeeper. I see keepers like Diogo Costa from Porto. I see keepers like Mike Maignan in Milan. Brilliant keepers, all attributes of the game. De Gea off crosses, I would absolutely love a keeper that's come out, collect a cross, get your team on the front foot, instantly counter-attack. I feel off crosses, especially because we've not got the tallest team anyway, it's a real hindrance to us. And then obviously we've talked about sweeping. As a Manchester United keeper, you've got to be able to come off your line, you've got to be able to sweep and come off the line and act as basically a third defender, a third centre-back. That's what you've got to do. De Gea, he's tried to do this, and I respect him highly for trying, and he's definitely trying to improve. And this is no way a witch hunt on David De Gea and anything personal towards him. I admit he's been a legend at the club. He's a brilliant shot stopper, and he deserves to go down as a legend. For me personally, I just think we have to look at the weaknesses and think, is it time to move on? Yes, it is. Because he's tried sweeping, he's coming off his line, it's not working. In some instances it had. A lot of the times it looks very nervous, he looks very shaky. Again, I don't want to just zone in on one game, but you revert back to the Sevilla game. Off his line he comes, tries to make that first touch, and I'm not, no word of a lie, I genuinely think my nan could do better than that. I'm not joking. I could do better than that, and I've not kicked a ball in how many years? Honestly, it's a really, really poor first touch. And I know mistakes can happen to anybody, but it's not the first time we've seen this with David De Gea. If David De Gea was the best goalkeeper in the world, like a lot of people like to make out, would Roy Keane on live television says he'd be swinging punches? He literally said on live television, I'd be swinging punches in the changing rooms. Like, obviously I don't condone that sort of behaviour, and that's not the way I would feel about things, but he was that physically annoyed at the situation. There is people that can kind of see past the amazing shot stopping, which is granted amazing, and can see what the team needs, and they need someone strong to stand in goal. They need someone that can dominate the 6-yard box and can put the defenders in line. They need somebody when we are in a high pressure situation and we have to take penalties that can actually save one, if I'm being honest with you, because I move on to penalties now, and I literally said in the Brighton game, as soon as it went to penalties, I love to be positive around United. I was hoping to God that David De Gea was going to save one. I kept saying, come on David, let's do this. But I just kept getting flashbacks to Villarreal. And again, we step up, and I said all the Brighton players really need to do is get it on target, because if they get it on target, he's probably going to go back into the back of the net. For some reason, when he was diving, I don't know if he managed to make himself look smaller, I don't know how it was, but I know not every keeper's going to save a penalty, at all penalties, but with David De Gea it's extremely low rate, and I'm just thankful that Solly March missed it. I feel sorry for him, because obviously it's never a nice thing for a player to do, but we're thankful he missed it, because if they got all theirs on target, we would have been going to sudden death again, and maybe it would have been down to David De Gea to take a penalty, which, if we're a flashback to Villarreal, didn't actually end up scoring and didn't end up going on and winning. So weird. I think within the last 8 years, Manchester United have been 5 Europa League kind of final matches, like a semi-final or a final, and I think we've only won one, and in that one we did win. It was actually Romero that was starting in goal. All the ones with David De Gea, and we didn't seem to win, and these sort of stats can be brought up, and David De Gea has been a class act for Manchester United over the years. I'm not saying that. Times after Ferguson, when we were in the Moyes eras, the Louis van Gaal eras, he got us out of trouble so many times, and he got Player of the Year, deservedly so. It's not just my whole time that I've been a United supporter I've not liked De Gea. I've loved De Gea at certain points, but I can sit back and I can look at Manchester United and I can look at what's best for the team, and when I look at what's best for the team, obviously it was Erik ten Hag that's going to have the final say, but when I look at what's best for the team, David De Gea is not it. We are going to be stagnated. I worry about Erik ten Hag if he thinks it is the right move. I honestly do, because I think anybody that kind of knows this team and knows where it wants to go for the top level can see that David De Gea isn't the goalkeeper to take us there. And I'm really worried that by keeping David De Gea and keeping on a contract, we're going to miss out on top targets. Mike Maignan at Milan, unbelievably good keeper, exactly who Man United should be targeting. Yes, it's going to cost a lot of money for a top goalkeeper in this market, but it's worth it because you have them for years and they're such a vital part of the team. If you look at any other position, you usually have backups and different types of players that can play that role. But with a goalkeeper, you only have one main goalkeeper, and they're going to have to play for years in Manchester United. It's important. Mike Maignan, Diogo Costa, generational goalkeepers that when another top club needs a goalkeeper, they're going to go for them. If we wait around on David De Gea, will we miss out on them targets? I'm not sure. Speaking to Romano, I think the plan is to get in a goalkeeper, a second choice goalkeeper that can challenge De Gea more than the likes of Butland and Heaton, but isn't going to be taking that number one spot, but can develop and potentially maybe be that in the future. Someone young and someone cheap. And again, to me, this screams Erik ten Hag wants a goalkeeper. Man United can't afford to get him the one that he wants. That is what I think is happening. In the summer, we spoke to Rob Dawson. Goalkeeper that can play out from the back with his feet was a priority for Ten Hag. He had to move it to the side because of all the other positions we had to go and get at that point. This summer, speaking to journalists again, Erik ten Hag wants a goalkeeper that can play out from the back. He wants a modern goalkeeper that can do everything. But there are funds out there because we need to go and spend 100+ million on a striker, because we need a midfielder. I tell you now, if we had the funds available, if we had an ownership in like Sheikh Jassim, we would get a new goalkeeper this summer. The only reason we won't sign one is because the funds aren't there this summer. That is the only reason I can think of, because Erik ten Hag, it's not a coincidence that multiple reports keep coming out saying he wants a new goalkeeper, but yet we can't afford one, which is why we're going to keep him on the contract. And it's not the end of the world if David De Gea does sign a new contract. He's a good goalkeeper, but this team could be so much better if we invested in it. It is one of the priority positions. I think we have to go for it this summer. And honestly, if they are cutting his wage bill down to 200 grand a week, maybe they will get someone else in and they will eventually phase David De Gea out. I'm not sure. But get in the comments down below what you guys think. Do you think it's right that David De Gea is about to sign a new 200 grand a week deal at Manchester United? And how long would you want this deal to be for? If this deal was like 2 years, I would accept it and I'd be like, okay, we'll get a new goalkeeper and we'll eventually phase him out and we'll move on. If this deal was 3 to 5 years, it would be a no from me. You will never get a fee for him if you want to sell him. No one's going to come in and pay big money for him. If it's just a 1 to 2 year, 3 year contract, I can get my head around it slightly. But if it's a long contract, I just think it's massively the wrong move for Manchester United. But get in the comments down below what you guys think. Should David De Gea sign a new 200 grand a week contract? I'll be excited to read all the comments. I mean, please be nice. I'll see you on the next one.